And our guest today on Absolutely Famous is our regular rugby man, former King Country and Marlborough rugby loose forward Greg Brimble from the beautiful New South Wales coast town of Nowra. Brims, how are you, mate? Got an exciting time to be a rugby fan, isn't it? World Cup year.
I'm going really good, Johnny. Thanks for having me on again, and it is, mate. It's very exciting, and we've got a lot to look forward to for the rest of this year. We've got 5 Test matches coming up, an exciting World Cup, the Rugby Championship, and of course the next 4 years to look forward to under Scott Robertson, with some really exciting new players coming through.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the best thing, we were talking about it before, for me out of the latest round of Pacific Super Rugby was the form of under pressure Blues first 5, Beauden Barrett. He threw that bloody stupid kicking game away, and honestly, mate, for the 40 odd minutes he was on the field before he went off injured, there was a lot of the old brilliant Beauden stuff back.
Yes, well, he looked like the old master back to his best, didn't he, John? And he had the ball on a string. He just knew what he was doing with it. He steered the team around the park very well. Knew when to put a deft little kick in, but also took advantage of the brilliant outside backs in that Blues team, and he played a very mature, sensible game. It's great to see him back into his top form. You never write off a champion.
No, you certainly don't. The 45-26 went over the Reds was probably flattered the Reds a bit, but yeah, I mean, with a back line like that, you wouldn't want to be kicking the ball away, would you? And I think Leon McDonald, their head coach, has alluded to that he thinks they've got things right with the ball in hand, and I think they've definitely got things right playing to their strengths.
Well, they have, and if you look at all the statistics, I was going through them this morning as well, John. The Blues are up there in the top 3 with carries, carry meters, offloads, line breaks. They're really statistically they're the most exciting team in the competition, and you know, like it doesn't always show, I don't suppose, but they certainly like to keep the ball in hand. They like to carry, and they like to offload, and that's really exciting. Some of the other teams just kicking too much, especially the Australian teams, and I think we're both happy to see the ball more in hand and more carriers.
A young star putting his hand up, Brims, for the last couple of years, Zane Sullivan, who started at fullback for the Blues and then moved to first 5 when Beauden Barrett hobbled off with a foot injury. What a star in the making that young fella is.
Look, he is, and certainly, as we were saying, the future's looking bright. And Zane Sullivan, I've been following him for the last 2 years. Now, he played for the New Zealand Maori, and he also played for the New Zealand 15 that toured the Northern Hemisphere last year. And he's been in sensational form, he has, and looks very good, can play first 5 or fullback or an outside back. Really good. He's got a good step, a really good turn of pace, and beautiful silky skills. Certainly looks a very promising prospect for the future, John.
Yeah, and of course, one thing is certain, All Blacks chief coach Ian Foster has got an impressive pool of talent to select from, and if we look at the lock and loose forward department this week, you'll have your ideas there, but you know, you start with the three great players, Scott Barrett, Sam Whitelock and Brodie Retallick, and go from there.
And that's exactly what I did this morning when I was going through my list of likely loose forward candidates and second rowers. Now there'll be 17 forwards taken to the World Cup. Now, if you say there's 7 front rowers, which is 4 props and 3 hookers, that leaves 10 lock or second row / loose forward positions. Now, you know that Sam Whitelock and Brodie Retallick are certainties, and they're probably Patrick Tuipulotu, Josh Lord, and Tufo Vai would be the other contenders along with Scott Barrett, but I think they're probably going to go with Tufo Vai. And I think they will take Scott Barrett as a second rower / blindside flanker as well, John, because Scott Barrett has got a heart as big as Far Lap, and he's got a massive motor on him, and he's a big body and he needs to be on the park. We've got to find a place for him somewhere, and I think that is probably in the big games going to be at number 6, John.
Yeah, and of course we've got a heck of a pool of talent there in the Lucies. We've got Sam Kane's likely to start, probably captain. Dalton Papali'i, Artie Sevilla, Shannon Frizzell, Ethan Blackadder, all the main men last year. There's quite a few others as well.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you mentioned Shannon Frizzell, because he's been sort of in and out of favour, hasn't he? And he's had some disciplinary issues off the field, along with some injuries. But he played in the second row for the Highlanders against the Rebels on the weekend, and he had a really good game in the second row. So he's proven his utility value as well. But Sam Kane and Dalton Papali'i, they're going to go. Artie Sevilla is definitely going to go, along with Scott Barrett. So I mean, the toss-up is who are the backups there? And there's Ethan Blackadder. He's got to be in there somewhere. Statistically, Hoskins Satudu is the best performing loose forward this Super Rugby campaign on paper. He's stuck his hand up, and on form, and statistics, he's probably got to go. But you've also got some really good competition from the likes of Cullen Grace. Billy Harmon is one of the outstanding number 7s this year. I think he's really put his hand up for a start. But you've got Kira Owani as well. That Samapeni Finau, the brilliant Chiefs number 6. That's putting his hand up for selection, along with Tom Christie, the outstanding Crusaders number 7. So that makeup's going to be quite interesting how they go about that, and I really think utility value is going to come into contention here, and it's quite likely that they may not, apart from Artie Sevilla, who's a part-time number 8, may not take specialist number 8, more players that can play number 8 and number 6.
Yeah, that's right. We mentioned Luke Jacobson to be in that mix too. He's already been in the All Black frame. But yeah, I agree. And someone like Ethan Blackadder, who plays all 3 loose forward positions, big advantage for Ethan as long as he comes back sound and plays like he usually always plays. He'll be hard to miss out. But it's a hell of a pool of talent, isn't it?
It's a wonderful pool of talent. We're spoilt with our riches. There's some outstanding players that are not going to make the plane to Paris, John, and that's the reality of it. I think utility value is certainly going to be a big consideration in the naming of the makeup of the loose forwards, especially, John. And I think, like I said, I think they'll only take 3. They'll take 3 locks, along with Scott Barrett, who will be a lock / loose forward when they get on the plane.
Yeah, I agree. Super Rugby Pacific competition, in desperate need of some good games, and in between a pretty average competition, there has been some outstanding footy. And I think the Western Forces' big upset over the Brumbies in Perth was great for the Aussie game, and unfortunately the big New Zealand derby was ruined by 2 things: the atrocious weather and the ridiculous All Black resting process, which just shortchanges fans and everybody.
Yeah, it's disappointing, isn't it? I mean, I can see why they do have this rest and rotation policy, especially in a World Cup year, but it's really frustrating, isn't it, when you want to see your best players on the park, and franchises want to be playing their best players as well, especially with only 3 regular rounds to go. There's a bit of a log jam in there, especially in the top 5 for who's going to get the home advantage, which is quite a real advantage coming into the semi-finals, quarterfinals and semi-finals. You want to have that home ground advantage there. So look, the only New Zealand team that lost on the weekend was the poor Hurricanes, and they lost to another New Zealand team, the Chiefs. The Islanders had a win in the last minute with a Sam Gilbert penalty in overtime, and and the Blues and Crusaders both had really healthy wins. So I think that the one thing that's the variable here we want to keep an eye on and who's going to get those top 4 spots. And you'd have to say that at the moment it's the Chiefs, Brumbies, Crusaders, and Blues probably. And I think the Hurricanes are probably just going to slip out of that top 4.
Yeah, of course, the Brumbies didn't do themselves any favour by using the rest policy to leave all sorts of players out, as they did when they come and played the Crusaders and virtually sacrificed that match. That'll come back to burn them, I think. And a lot of talk about the Crusaders being right back to ominous form, and they were in their 41-7 win over Moana Pacifica. But the big concern for me is they've lost 3 All Black props for the entire season: George Bowe, Fletcher Newell, Joe Moody, and I don't know how that might bite them in the end.
Well, they have, John, but you never write the Crusaders off, do you? And they've got such a good academy program and development program down there in Christchurch that there will be capable players coming through that can fill in. Ollie Jaeger, he's back, and isn't Mighty Williams in fantastic form at the moment? I mean, he could be a real bolter for France for the World Cup, John. He's a massive human being, and he looks pretty fit at the moment too. For 140 odd kilos, he's been getting around the field, and the number of touches he had in that first half in that Crusaders game against Moana Pacifica on the weekend was huge. He's exciting, but yeah, look, again, you don't write off the Crusaders. They've got a lot of depth there as well. But it's sad to see those 3 players out who were all real contenders for France.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Tamaito Williams, I'm glad you mentioned him because he's definitely an All Black and waiting, and he plays both sides of the scrum. So if you're looking for a bolter for the team, he's one of mine for the All Black team.
He'd be one of mine as well, John, especially with those injuries there and the ability to play on either side of the scrum. Again, as we touched on before, is a real bonus, that utility value there.
A couple of good feature matches this weekend. Brims, your thoughts on those? The Blues versus the Hurricanes at Eden Park, and the Brumbies and the Chiefs in Canberra.
Well, look, the Brumbies and the Chiefs. Everyone hates going to Canberra to play football, and I don't blame them. It's a horrible stadium. I've been there and watched it. Look, I apologise to my Brumbies friends and my Australian colleagues, but it's a horrible place to play football, especially at night. It was minus 3.7 degrees in Canberra this morning. I mean, really, look, I think the Brumbies will be hard to beat at home, but this has all the hallmarks of a great game of rugby and probably one of the best that we're going to see, providing the weather holds out and the Chiefs take their full top 15 onto the field with them, John. So the Blues are going to be hard to beat at Eden Park. Hurricanes, I think, are going to struggle a little bit, and they'll probably finish up 5th, which will mean they'll be playing away from home come the quarterfinals, mate.
Good stuff, yeah. Well, yeah, I'm really looking forward to those 2 games too. I think that if the Chiefs don't take their top side, I think the Brumbies will beat them, and I'm with you on the Blues being too good for the Hurricanes if they keep their new policy of not kicking possession away.
Well, let's hope that's the case, eh? And we look forward to a really good game of rugby up there because, statistically speaking, both the Hurricanes and the Blues have the best stats for tries scored and for line breaks and metres carried, and they will, potentially it is one of the better games we're going to see in this competition. So let's hope for a dry track this coming this coming weekend, John. It was horrible weather on the weekend there, wasn't it, over in NZ?
Yeah, it certainly was, and well done to those 15,500 that turned up at Hamilton in the torrential rain to see the Chiefs and the Hurricanes do the best they could to put a reasonably good game of footy together.
The cowbells were ringing and nobody was leaving,
John. Yeah, it's a gutsy effort by those guys.
Yeah.
And Brim's Jaco Nowra down there, your caravan business going well?
Going good, mate. Yeah, going good. It's coming into winter now. It's starting to cool down a bit, but people are still out and about. I was here all weekend, and there was certainly a steady flow of customers through the front gate, looking at our product and that. So yeah, going good. Thank you, mate.
It's an amazing country, Australia, for caravanning, isn't it? There's so much land.
There's so much to see. John. It really is. It's exploring the outback and the great outdoors of Australia is one of the best things you can do. It's such a vast country with such a beautiful array of different characters everywhere you go, and there's nothing like dropping in at a country outback pub and saying hello to the locals, and you're in Australia, mate.
Exactly.
It's good. It's a good country.
Yeah, it is too. Brims, thanks, mate. Always love talking rugby with you. Have a great week, and we'll talk either next week or the week after.
Oh, well, John, thanks very much, mate. All the best for the rest of the week.